four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, Missouri Southern Football introduces its new head coach, and the CDC releases a new study suggesting too tightly fitted masks can provide more protection against COVID-19. For something to talk about, we're asking what you think of the double masking recommendation. You can also participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Good news from the Skywatch storm tracker. Even though it is frigid and it is overcast, we are actually able to dodge the wintry precipitation that stays down through north central Arkansas. That being said, we still do have a couple winter weather advisories that are in effect for 2 counties there. Roll those until 6 o'clock. Hopefully we can let those expire. Now let's talk about temperatures. From the Freeman Health System sky camera, 15 degrees with a wind chill of 2, so still dangerously cold outside. Don't even have any 20s on the board here at the 5 o'clock hour, and our wind chills dipping as low as the negative numbers up to the north. 2 below in Iola, Nevada, and Stockton, Lamar at 1. Now the cold front, as it continues to penetrate through, is going to give us a break precip wise, as everything just kind of breaks up here as we work in from Thursday and Friday. So that's some great news. Anything you're going to see, just going to be simply flurries. Now, overnight lows, those are not helping. So the snow on the ground will remain, but the ice is getting a little bit better thanks in part to our great road crews. Next bout for some snow is going to be Saturday morning, and then looks like a pretty good one there from Sunday into Monday as well. That's going to be a little more widespread with the system digging through Texas and Oklahoma, making its way toward us. Look at those temperatures, the overnight lows there at the right-hand portion of your screen. Ho! Complete list of closings, bottom of your screen, scroll through road conditions and more closings, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Glad to see the Friday still doesn't have anything falling.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Ooh, can't wait for a warm-up. That will be nice. All right, thanks, Michael. The winter weather presents continued challenges for road crews across the 4 states. Kdot has had road crews out almost nonstop since Sunday, clearing state highways across southeast Kansas. They've had 27 trucks out, putting out hundreds of tons of salt and chemicals to melt the ice. So far, they've had no trouble restocking on salt and planned on watching conditions closely overnight.
This is what we do. Our people have done this for a long time. They're very experienced in what they do. The main thing is to get out to the public. We just need to be careful when the conditions are like this, especially when they're really cold and you got moisture. Those 2 things are critical, moisture and cold. And if it gets too cold and too much moisture, you have big problems.
Nelson says if conditions did not get worse into the overnight hours, they would be able to take a break, but they plan to get out as soon as the roads do get worse. On the Missouri side, MoDOT crews are running all day and night to keep roads safe. They're applying a sand and salt mixture and ask that while they're doing that, drivers stay well away from their trucks.
Right where they're treating, it may not be in the best, it still could be ice right now because it takes a little bit for the salt to melt it. Stay back. We don't, you don't want to get up underneath them because they're trying to treat the road. We'd hate for somebody to have to shut our sanders and spinners off because a car was too close to us.
MoDOT says if you can, it's best to just stay home. MoDOT covers only a few roads in the city of Joplin. The city is responsible for the rest. The city tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call and the city is able to get a truck through easily. They also say they have enough road treatment on hand to get through this bout of bad weather. Well, the weather's cold and people need to be inside, but because of the pandemic, people need to avoid close contact with others. That creates a problem for warming stations where people can come in to escape the cold. Joplin Salvation Army is trying to mitigate the risk by having people come inside in shifts. That way no large group is congregating at once. Salvation Army Lieutenant Marty Morris tells us, pandemic or not, they'll find a way to help people.
It's hard to explain because, it's something that we do and we just take care of the people as they come in. We don't sit there and consider ourselves better than anybody else or not. We just get out there and help them.
Joplin Souls Harbor tells us they're allowing people to warm up in their chapel at 817 Main Street. A doctor at Freeman ER tells us broken wrists are the most common serious injuries from slipping and falling on the ice. You can help prevent those slips and falls with ice melt. It's in high demand right now, but stores like Hinkle's Hardware in Webb City say they're good on supply, but they do have to restock constantly. If you're going to pick up some ice melt, there is something else you should keep in mind.
Right now it's ice melt because it's freezing, but with these cold temperatures, we're really concerned about frozen pipes. When it gets down, usually the magic number for frozen pipes around here is 10.
Hinkle's Hardware is located on Madison in Webb City. House managers in former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial played a series of chilling and violent videos from the Capitol riot, some not previously seen. Using the former president's past tweets and words, they said he was the insider-in-chief. They argued he fanned the flames well before the January 6th riot in efforts to overturn the election. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely will not get the second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they're encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as mask and social distancing. Well, Valentine's Day is Sunday. Okay, now you know 4 days in advance, right? No excuse for you to run out at the last minute and grab a card at the drugstore, unless the card looks something like this. The Joplin History and Mineral Museum has spent the week showing off the more artistic side of the Valentine's Day card industry from days past, back when a lot of thought and hard work went into the card's creation, and it didn't come cheap.
Like, modern cards aren't that much of a chunk of your income, but at this time they would have been quite significant, so maybe people need to step it up today.
You can check out all of the cards on the Joplin History and Mineral Museum Facebook page. It's 5:07.
So on this Thursday morning, day planner will have sunrise at 7:11, but the cloud's going to obscure that for most of the day. And even as we get into the afternoon, still going to feel like it's single digits outside. Any flurries that you see, that's going to be about all. And then Friday's cold. Saturday morning, we begin to pick up additional snow showers.
Let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, how Missouri Southern is making history with their new head football coach. Plus, will you need to get a yearly COVID vaccine, much like the flu shot? We'll find out. And a look at a new study suggesting too tightly fitted masks can provide more protection against COVID-19. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Wednesday, a big day for Missouri Southern football, introducing Atiba Bradley as its next head coach. A pick that means history for Missouri Southern and a homecoming for Bradley. Our own sports director, Jacob Leonard, with his story.
Atiba Bradley made history on Wednesday afternoon.
Missouri Southern's new head football coach, Atiba Bradley.
Bradley is the first black head coach in Missouri Southern history.
I think right now there's 5 black head coaches in Division II. I think there's 9 in all divisions, and so I don't take these opportunities lightly. You know, this is a big deal. Because, you know, I set the standard for a lot of kids looking up. No different than I looked up to a lot of athletes and coaches, you know, Herm Edwards, you know, some of those guys that came before me that kind of paved the way for me.
It's a homecoming for Bradley. He played for the Lions from 2002 to 2005 before beginning his coaching career at both the Division I and Division II levels.
When I was young with no kids, it was fun to travel. It was fun to kind of go to different universities and learn. But now as I get older, my kids are getting older, it's good to have them around friends, family, and have a little bit of a support net.
He had the personal qualities that I think will really build a great culture and a great program here at Missouri Southern. And then, of course, coming home. He has roots here as a a native of Joplin, a Missouri Southern graduate, a former football player.
Bradley takes over a program that did not get on the field last fall and is 5-39 since 2016.
I'm not naive. It's not going to be easy. This is a tough league. There's great competition, but I'm excited to be back and get this thing turned.
Now that he's the guy, Bradley aims to help the Lions climb the MIAA, including the Crimson and Gold guys down the road.
I think that's the beauty of college athletics, is that we do get to play a team that is 20 minutes down the road. We see them in recruiting, we see them in the league, we see them a lot. And so I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to beat them. You know what I mean? That's part of being here at Missouri Southern.
Bradley aims to have his coaching staff complete by next week, and he does plan on having interim head coach Joe Batasso stay on the coaching staff. On a little college basketball, Missouri up to number 10 in the nation on the road last night against Ole Miss. It was a game for a half, and then I just quit watching. Tigers fall 80-59. Mizzou out-rebounded 34-19. Tigers now 13-4 overall. In the American, Wichita State on the road looking for a fourth straight win and going up against Central Florida. Had to work for it, but pulled it off 61-60. Dexter Dennis, double-double, 16 points, 10 rebounds. Wichita State improves to 12-4. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a miracle COVID recovery.
Faith and Survival. I'm Marianne Rafferty with how the world's second oldest living person is recovering from COVID-19. Coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
If you're looking for that special.
Rolling up on 5:17, perfect time for weather on the 7s. It will start with a bit of good news here, even though we're not going to see much sunshine today. We are on the dry side right now. Just had some light flurries, even the overnight precipitation that we saw that was relatively light. It's finally beginning to end. Now, even with that being said, because we're not going to have a chance to melt off anytime soon, and because we've still got slick road conditions, especially as you move to the south, list of closings right there, bottom of your screen, complete list, whether it be organizations, businesses, activities, and of course schools, KOAMnewsnow.com, and at the very top, you can also find road conditions before you head out today. That being said, we still do have a winter weather advisory for a pair of our highlighted counties until 6 o'clock this morning. We're really seeing the weather advisories, whether it be watches, warnings, and whatnot, kind of slip down to the southeast a little bit, kind of getting out of our way. One thing we can't escape, that's going to be the cold. Freeman Health System Sky Camera, where it's 15 degrees right now with a wind chill of 2. Temperatures ranging from about 13 to 18 degrees. That's as good as we're going to see this morning. And we've got some negative numbers there as far as what it feels like. Carthage only at 1, though Parsons in at 1, and Pittsburgh right now at 2. And this is just abnormally cold for this section of the United States. Yeah, it's bitter cold for us. As a matter of fact, by the time we get to the 7-day forecast, we're going to run a span of days that we really haven't seen since about 2014. Been 7 years since we had a cold snap like this. This does give you an indicator of our Thursday and Friday break from any of the frozen variety. As we progress to the afternoon, mostly cloudy skies, single-digit wind chills. Really, even in the afternoon right there, we're going to be hard-pressed to even get to 10 or 11 as far as what it feels like. And then overnight, clouds remain, and the north wind picks up as well. So that's really going to put a little bite in the air as far as what Future Track has. We're good on Thursday and Friday. Anything you do see, just flurries for the most part. But then on Friday into Saturday, we kind of get skirted around the corners. And I'm going to be surprised if we don't pick up a little snow from that every now and then. Big one, though, is looking like Sunday into Monday, because we're going to have a system that's going to dig down from the southern plains right there through Oklahoma and Texas. There we are on Sunday morning when it begins. This is expansive. And as this thing moves through, we do see some heavy snow there taking us from Sunday all the way in to Monday morning. 7-day forecast. Look at these overnight lows here by the time we get into next week. Once again, watch the pets, try to keep them inside, check on your neighbors, and make sure you got the old faucet dripping, because we're a far cry from getting even close to 32 degrees. Turn our attention now to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. You only wear one mask, CDC says you might want to consider doubling up. On Wednesday, CDC releasing a new study suggesting 2 tightly fitted masks can provide more protection against COVID-19. William Lajeunesse, he's in Los Angeles with details on this new report.
2 masks are better than 1. That's according to new research released Wednesday by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
In the study, wearing any type of mask performed significantly better than not wearing a mask. And well-fitting masks provided the greatest performance.
The agency conducted laboratory experiments to compare different mask-wearing methods. Researchers found 1 loose-fitting mask blocks only about 40% of infectious air particles, while 2 tightly fitted masks can block up to 95%. The study offers 2 options to significantly reduce exposure to COVID-19, either wearing a cloth mask over a surgical mask or knotting the ear loops of a surgical mask, then tucking in the extra material. The CDC also says there are new devices called mask fitters that can help create a snug fit.
The bottom line is this: masks work, and they work best when they have a good fit and are worn correctly.
This is the first time the CDC has provided guidance on double masking, but the concept isn't new. Some health experts recommended the method for weeks as new, more contagious strains of the virus spread across the U.S.
By double masking, you may be able to essentially provide a bit more of a denser obstacle course, if you will, for those viral particles.
Also part of this report, CDC says don't wear 2 disposable masks and don't combine an N95 mask with any other type. On the Facebook page and our morning Insta poll asking if you plan on wearing more than 1 mask. Let us know what you have to say, and you can vote at KOMNewsNow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Cold outside.
Topping Health Watch this morning, as the number of Americans getting vaccinated against COVID-19 continues to rise, so do concerns over the highly contagious virus variants. It's led some to suggest the need for a yearly COVID shot, much like the flu vaccine. Mandy Gaither has more.
Across the U.S., the race against coronavirus variants continues. About 1 in 10 Americans have now received at least 1 dose of the vaccine.
I've already had COVID, and so I'm a little bit nervous because of the reinfection rate. That's the big thing right now. I wasn't as nervous. I was going to wait it out and wait till later on when it's not so urgent, but I thought I better get in on it now because of the reinfection.
Only 1 state now, Alaska, is showing an upward trend in coronavirus cases, but new CDC data shows nearly 950 known cases of the highly contagious virus variants in the U.S. CEO of vaccine maker Johnson & Johnson now suggesting those mutations may mean an annual COVID shot will be needed for years to come. The company asked the FDA for an emergency use authorization of its vaccine last week, and a green light could further boost vaccination doses available across the U.S.
Supply will increase, and we have to make sure that American public sees the data and has reliable sources to go to so they increase their comfort in being able to take the vaccine.
A new Gallup poll of more than 4,000 Americans taken at the end of January shows 71% of those surveyed are now willing to get COVID-19 vaccines, but 2/3 were not satisfied with how vaccination is going in the U.S. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
In that Gallup poll, of those unwilling to get a vaccine, most said they were concerned about the rushed development of the vaccines. Others saying they want to wait and see if it's safe and effective. Few older people are having strokes. Researchers in Denmark found declines in both major kinds of strokes in people ages 70 and older. They also found fewer people of all ages are dying of stroke. Children exposed to the bacteria that causes strep throat show increased symptoms of hyperactivity and impulsiveness. But researchers in Canada found no association between strep and chronic TIC disorders, contrary to previous studies that suggested a link. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
A bit of good news to start our Thursday, while we still have plenty of cancellations running on the bottom of your screen. The list does get a little bit smaller today as the freezing precip has finally given up, and All we have remaining are some light flurries for today into tomorrow. So now we talk about dangerously cold temperatures. So if the kids are out and about, make sure they have multiple layers on. Wind chill is going to stay in the single digits today, with the north wind picking up to 20-mile-an-hour gusts overnight. So that's going to drop our wind chills down to the negatives here. 7-day forecast. Colder as we head into the weekend. Next shot for rain going to be Saturday into Sunday, and then a pretty good one coming Sunday night into Monday morning. We'll be back right after this.
How local road crews are working to keep drivers safe, plus why Missouri teachers may not get a vaccine until the end of the school year. And it's day 3 of the impeachment of former President Trump. We'll show you the never-before-seen video presented at the trial yesterday.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour for something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what do you think of the CDC's double masking recommendation and how Chinatown and New York is gearing up for this month's Lunar New Year? But first, a check on your forecast.
Cloudy on the Skywatch storm tracker, but we'll take it because that means a lack of freezing rain, if that's all we're talking about, or just some flurries. All the freezing precipitation rolling through Arkansas right now. Looks like Memphis is going to be a mess here by the end of the day as well. But for us, just trying to take care of staying warm. Winter weather advisory now limited to 2 counties down in the southeast. Freeman Health System sky camera sits at 15 degrees, and with the cloud cover, we're not going to see much of a warm up even after sunrise. How about these wind chills? Throwing up some negative numbers there. Iola, Nevada, Stockton down to 3 below as the cold front has now penetrated all the way into the deep southern portion of the United States. Future track, like I said, flurries, the only thing we need to worry about today as we push into Friday. A little break, maybe even some sunshine on Friday, so that'll kind of be nice. And then we got a little snow that wants to skirt the corners of the 4 states from Friday night into Saturday morning. And once again, we'll be paying attention to the big one coming on Sunday into Monday. Watch this thing dig through the southwest and then right on us for Monday morning. So stay inside if you can, because temperatures aren't going to get any better. And thank goodness for our wonderful road crews. But there's only so much ground they can cover. And so the untreated roads certainly remain slick into the weekend.
Yeah, especially in that residential areas like we talked about.
That's right. KOMNewsNow.com, complete list of road closings for you, and all those closings you see on the bottom of your screen as well. Find an alphabetical list on our website.
All right, thanks, Michael. MoDOT crews are running all day and night to keep roads safe. They've been applying a sand and salt mixture to the roads. MoDOT crews are asking people to stay home if they can, because MoDOT workers are trying to do their best to maintain the roads.
Try to be patient. You know, it's a lot of miles that we cover, you know, across the state. We're looking at anywhere from 34,000 across the state to ours. We have over right around almost 6,500 to 7,000 miles of road that we try to cover.
It's a lot of mileage. MoDOT officials say they have enough supply right now to keep up with the weather. MoDOT covers only a few roads within the city of Joplin, and the city is responsible for the rest. The city tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call, and the city is able to get a truck through easily. They also say they have enough road treatment on hand to get through this bout of bad weather. Again, it's best if you just stay home, but even at home, there are still safety issues you need to keep in mind. If you plan on fighting the cold with a space heater, Joplin's fire chief says you should follow the manufacturer's instructions on how to safely operate it, and don't leave it unattended. Don't leave it near something flammable like blankets or curtains. If you have a fireplace, officials ask that you plan ahead and have it checked before using it. Cold weather raises concerns in Miami for pets, specifically one dog named Boomer. KOAM's Bronte Saratsky has more.
Boomer has been the talk of the town. He gained his popularity on Facebook, where disturbed Miami residents posted their worry for the dog's well-being. Joe Honeycutt grew up in Miami. Although he no longer lives there, he is still active in the community and decided to take action online.
Well, I had been reading several posts that day that were related to this same dog, and I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of what was going on and see if there was any way that I could help influence the situation.
Joe says he used Facebook to reach Boomer's owner.
I decided to go onto the public website and make a post, and I reached out to the gentleman himself. And I had told him that there is such an importance to leaving your animals inside in the cold.
And this outrage from the community online is what caused police to get more involved. Miami Police Chief Thomas Anderson says they had a meeting with city officials after the dogs rise online.
The city manager, after receiving numerous complaints, wanted to make sure that the situation was controlled and the city's doing everything we can within the law to make sure this animal's, taken care of.
Anderson says they've known about the issue since November of last year. Boomer's actually gotten a lot better since then, and according to Anderson, gained 40 pounds. He says animal control is involved, which helped.
He's taking way better care of the animal than he was just a few months ago, and that's because our animal control has done a great job of working with him for the benefit of the animal.
Anderson clarifies that he's glad the community is looking out for these animals, but they know Boomer is doing better.
If you see an animal that is out, let's check on him. I know we've got numerous calls on this one, but we know this dog has improved and has everything he needs to have.
In Miami, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Anderson says animal control is keeping close tabs on Boomer. House managers in former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial played a series of chilling and violent videos from the Capitol riot, some not previously seen. Using the former president's past tweets and words, they said he was the insider-in-chief. They argued he fanned the flames well before the January 6th riot in efforts to overturn the election. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely will not get their second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they're encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as masks and social distancing. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The Lunar New Year is this month.
Chinatowns around the country have been especially hard hit during the pandemic. I'm Nancy Chen in New York's Chinatown with how the neighborhood is banding together to shine a light on struggling businesses.
Plus, one woman's story of surviving COVID at 116 years old. We'll have her story. But first, it's 5:37.
Here we go. Watch these temperatures roll through. 15, 18, 22. That's as warm as we're going to get today. Nice thing is it'll just be flurries. No freezing drizzle, no freezing rain. KOAMNewsNow.com for your closings and road conditions.
Topping World Watch, the effects of the pandemic are being felt all around the world in people big and small, young and old. The second oldest person alive has not only tested positive for the coronavirus, she's overcome it. Marianne Rafferty has more on one woman's story of survival.
As countries around the world work to distribute coronavirus vaccines, overseas in France, Europe's oldest living person is opening up about her own COVID-19 recovery. Meet 116-year-old Lucille Randon, who goes by the name of Sister Andre since becoming a nun back in 1944. She tested positive for the coronavirus last month in her retirement home. She didn't even know she was ill.
I was very tired and lived through it like that, but I didn't know I had it. I was very, very tired for some of the time, and then I realized I was sicker than I thought. I wasn't scared because I'm not scared of dying.
Being a nun, Sister Andre has a special relationship with God, one she's able to be lighthearted about.
I don't know why he hasn't come yet. Maybe because he does not find me free enough.
But Sister Andre is truly lucky. Officials say 81 out of the 88 people in her facility came down with the virus in January alone. At least 10 have died. The sister is glad to have the gift of life, but says she wouldn't mind being reunited with some of her own family members in heaven.
I'm happy to be with you, but I would wish to be somewhere else, join my big brother and my grandfather and my grandmother.
Surviving COVID isn't Sister Andre's only reason to celebrate. Her 117th birthday is Thursday. Staff say it's truly a joyous occasion.
This will allow us to bring everyone together once again, and we owe this to our eldest resident.
Sister Andre is the world's second oldest person alive. She'll soon be a year younger than the oldest living person, 118-year-old Kane Tanaka from Japan. Impressive. Carnival is canceled in Brazil for the first time in over a century due to the pandemic. Floats are sitting idle at a warehouse in Rio de Janeiro and will not be part of the annual parade and street festivals. Local officials called off Mardi Gras festivities and warned potential revelers from holding secret parties. Police will be patrolling the streets and popular beaches to enforce COVID-19 restrictions, and any violators could face a fine and possible jail time. Rio's Carnival, held every year before Lent, is considered the world's biggest carnival, attracting about 2 million people per day. China's spacecraft successfully entered Mars orbit. After a 6.5-month journey through space, the country's unmanned spacecraft, Tianwen-1, is a step closer to landing on the red planet. China National Space Administration said the spacecraft is on a mission to gather data on Mars' geological structure, its underground water, and any possible signs of ancient life. It's expected to land on the Martian surface in May or June. The news comes as NASA will attempt to land its Perseverance rover on Mars next week. I'm going to say hi to Matt Damon. 2 rare Jaguar cubs are born to an unusual couple. A conservation group in Argentina is celebrating the birth of twin Jaguar cubs. The fact that the species is nearly wiped out isn't the only thing worth celebrating. The babies were born to a wild father and a captive mother, an unusual pair that researchers have not seen anywhere else in the world. The parents got to know each other thanks to the efforts of conservationists hoping to repopulate the endangered jaguars. The cubs will be released into the wild once they're ready, but for now, they're enjoying spending time with their mama. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Jaguar. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now endorsing double masking to help prevent the spread of coronavirus on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. And our morning Insta poll asking if you plan on wearing more than one mask. Rocky Cunningham says, nah, don't even own 2 masks. Isn't that the purpose of the vax everybody's clamoring to get? Rocky says, come on, man. And a good old love ya, Aunt Pat. Shireen George calls it utterly ridiculous. And Elena Marvin says our poor school kids, bad enough wearing 1 all day, but 2? Seriously? Dave Sorek. Dave writes, there have been no standards and such inconsistency, so it's no wonder that compliance has been difficult. I heard that there is already a National Unmasking Day planned on or near July 4, where victory will be declared in a ceremony by the president. I got time for one more. I'll throw one in here. Becky Mingarelli. Becky says, I wear cloth masks with filters inside. That is about the most I can wear and still breathe. It's sort of like wearing 2 masks, right? All right, on our morning Insta poll right now, it's pretty overwhelming and been consistent that all morning long. It's 88% of you saying no, do not plan on wearing more than 1 mask. You can make your voice be heard. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. House managers in former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial played a series of chilling and violent videos from the Capitol riot, some not previously seen. Using the former president's past tweets and words, they said he was the insider-in-chief. They argued he fanned the flames well before the January 6th riot in efforts to overturn the election. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely will not get their second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they're encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as masks and social distancing. The winter weather presents continued challenges for road crews across the 4 states. Kdot has had road crews out almost nonstop since Sunday, clearing state highways across southeast Kansas. They've had 27 trucks out, putting out hundreds of tons of salt and chemicals to melt the ice. So far, they've had no trouble restocking on salt and planned on watching conditions closely overnight. MoDOT covers only a few roads in the city of Joplin. The city is responsible for the rest. City tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call and the city is able to get a truck through easily. They also say they have enough road treatment on hand to get through this bout of bad weather. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Dangerously cold temperatures in the 4 states, mostly cloudy skies. Just going to see some light flurries. That'll be the equivalent of it. All the freezing rain finally exits our area, stays down and rolls right through central Arkansas. We still do have our far southeastern counties in the midst of a winter weather advisory until 6 a.m. So hopefully we can lift those here in the next 10 minutes or so. Temperatures only in the 20s today, single-digit wind chills, and overnight it's going to even be colder because the north wind going to gust 20 to 25 miles per hour. As far as future track, we get a little break from everything here on Thursday and Friday, so that's not too bad. Now we do have the reemergence of some snow that'll be here for the weekend. We'll call it Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Big one's looking like it's going to be Sunday night into Monday morning.
When the sun sets over New York's Chinatown, Mott Street lights up. 250 lanterns have turned back the darkness of winter.
There's all positive vibes down here, and this is what we need for the neighborhood.
Patrick Mott grew up in the neighborhood and manages a local bakery. He watched COVID-19 turn the area into a ghost town.
The damage of 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy was huge, but we rebounded from it. But what really hit us hard was COVID-19.
Dozens of businesses have shuttered, and community leaders believe many of them are gone for good.
Many of these businesses are small. They're small in nature. They're not the businesses that have cash flow or a reserve to be able to rely on.
To bring back visitors, Mott launched a fundraiser to light up Chinatown. For a $45 donation, participants get a personalized lantern with Chinese characters for peace, good fortune, and love.
These lights have already become a big attraction for visitors to New York's Chinatown. Their inspiration came from another struggling neighborhood thousands of miles away.
This is San Francisco's Chinatown, the oldest in the nation. As in New York, customers started disappearing here weeks before the official shutdowns.
Chinatown is the district that is worse than any other places. I worry about my people here. It's the saddest thing.
In New York, Mott envisions the lanterns drawing visitors in time for this month's Lunar New Year. But just as important, he aims to brighten the mood for business owners and give them hope that better days are ahead. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
New York's Chinatown Business Improvement District estimates there were more than 300 restaurants before the pandemic. As of now, about 40 are still open for delivery only. Michael?
All right, Tanya, if that morning routine of yours includes Facebook, you can go to @MichaelHayslip, Koam. And the quick little forecast that you'll see video-wise there is the same one you can find on your Skywatch weather app. Today, we're talking about bitter cold. You could call it dangerously cold. And so all you do is you go to KOMNewsNow.com. And at the very top of your screen, it's hard to miss because we've got alerts, closing, and road conditions all available for you at the click of a mouse. And once again, we'll keep those scrolling on the bottom of your screen. And the nice thing is you can actually filter these by whether you want activities, business, churches, and of course, schools. On the KOM News Now Facebook page, our Something to Talk About this morning, CDC recommendations of double masking. And we're asking if you plan on wearing more than one mask. We'll pick it back up with JJ Gintner, who says, remember, if we wear a mask for 3 weeks, we will stop the spread of this pandemic. Eric Jenny Van Dusen says, I will now wear twice the amount of masks I usually wear. which is 0. And Vu Nguyen says wearing 6 masks will protect 100%. Got time for guys here as well. Guy says if you are one of the 20% or so people who wear a mask below the nose, how effective is double masking? If you were one of the 50 million people who suffer from a serious respiratory condition, how much more difficult will breathing be wearing a double mask? Guy submits that if you are one of the following, the mask can be a health threat, and then lists a number of issues right there. And you can check out Guy's post at KOAMNewsNow.com. KOAM News Now Instapoll. Got 87% of you saying no, not going to double mask. Make your voice heard. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Be right back. Update the Skywatch Storm Tracker right after this. Able to finally escape the freezing drizzle and freezing rain for Thursday. Still mostly cloudy and dangerously cold. Wind chills right now as low as -3. Do have some light flurries that are going to pop up today, but the road conditions do get a little bit better. Still got a laundry list of closings there, bottom of your screen. Complete list, KOAMNewsNow.com.
How local road crews are working to keep drivers safe, plus why Missouri teachers may not get a vaccine until the end of the school year. And it's day 3 of the impeachment of former President Trump. We'll show you the never-before-seen video presented at the trial yesterday.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, how much Americans are expected to spend this Valentine's Day. And for something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what do you think of the CDC's double masking recommendation? But first, a check on your forecast.
Mostly cloudy with some random flurries. Our big problem today is not going to be the freezing rain or freezing drizzle down to the south. It's going to be the cold temperatures. Now, with that being said, we still do have 2 counties hanging on to the winter weather advisory. Let's see what they extended that for Benton County right there, because the other one just expired. We're going to roll till 8. That's because that freezing rain is in north central Arkansas right now. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin. 15 degrees is where we stand. We've got 16 in Monette, 14 in Pittsburgh, and 16 in Independence. And here's what your body feels like it is. 2 below in Fort Scott, 3 in Carthage, and 1 degree in Parsons. A massive cold front continues to make its way into the deep southern portion of the United States. But we do get a break from today into tomorrow. Like I said, light flurries is just about all we're going to see. And then as we get into Saturday, it begins to skirt around the corners of the 4 states, additional snow chances. And then we get a little widespread there Sunday night into Monday morning. And overnight lows in the negatives.
Yeah, I wish those were just wind chills and not actual temperature expectations.
Well, let's keep our eyes on road conditions. Our crew's doing a marvelous job, but Mother Nature not willing to help out because obviously haven't gotten close to 32 degrees. Remember, you got that complete closing list and road condition list at KOAMNewsNow.com.
Be sure to check that out. The winter weather is still presenting challenges to road crews across the 4 states. KOAM's Zach Dodge spoke with Kdot and has an update for Southeast Kansas.
Zach, we've been really busy.
Busy might be a bit of an understatement as Kdot works non-stop to keep state highways in Southeast Kansas free of ice.
We've had crews out pretty much 24/7 since Sunday. There was a little gap we got about 4:30 yesterday to about 8, but then we was back out.
Wayne Nelson, district superintendent with Kdot, explains there's been 27 trucks out spreading a mixture of salt and beet juice that entire time, equating to hundreds of tons of salt spread across Crawford, Cherokee, Labette, and Neosho counties.
I was just requested another 400 tons to fill up a salt dome in Neosho County. I was told that I need 400 tons to fill up one in Crawford County pretty soon. And I know I'm at about, probably 200 tons in Labette County. So we're at some pretty good tonnage.
But so far, they haven't had any trouble restocking on those chemicals. A good thing since below freezing temperatures are likely to continue. So Nelson plans to keep a close eye on the roads and keep crews out as long as they need to keep motorists as safe as possible.
This is what we do. Our people have done this for a long time. They're very experienced in what they do. The main thing is to get out to the public. We just need to be careful when the conditions are like this, especially when they're really cold and you got moisture. Those two things are critical, moisture and cold. And if it gets too cold and too much moisture, you have big problems.
In Pittsburgh, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Nelson says if conditions did not get worse into the overnight hours, they would be able to take a break, but they plan to get out as soon as the roads do get worse. MoDOT covers only a few roads in the city of Joplin, and the city is responsible for the rest. The city tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call, and the city is able to get a truck through easily.
A certain number of trucks available, you've got a certain number of manpower, so you try to do where 80% of your traffic is, and then and then the residents come out to those main roads.
Joplin workers also say they have enough treatment for the work ahead of them. Warming stations provide a place for people to come in from the cold, but we're living in a time when the air inside presents its own dangers. So what are these traditional warming stations doing to keep people safe during the pandemic? Well, at Joplin Salvation Army, they're trying to limit the number of people inside the warming station at any given time, and that means people are allowed inside in shifts.
We're here just to serve the community. That's what we wanted to do. My wife and I, we do this as a team. We're here to get back to the community, do what we can to help out the citizens of this area.
Joplin Souls Harbor tells us they're allowing people to warm up in their chapel at 817 Main Street. Cold weather conditions in Miami raised concerns for pets, specifically one dog named Boomer. He gained popularity on Facebook, where disturbed Miami residents posted their worry for the dog's well-being. One concerned Miami native explains why he got involved.
I have dogs myself, and I can only imagine what it would be leaving them outside in that kind of weather, especially when it's cold outside. It's very bad for their health and their well-being.
Miami native addressed Boomer's owner directly on social media in the hopes the dog will no longer be left outside. House managers and former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial played a series of chilling and violent videos from the Capitol riot, some not previously seen. Using the former president's past tweets and words, they said he was the insider-in-chief. They argued he fanned the flames well before the January 6th riot in efforts to overturn the election. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely will not get their second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they are encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as masks and social distancing. 6:07.
And we've got cloudy skies, so dangerously cold temperatures, and at least we've let one winter weather advisory expire. We're just hanging on to the one in Benton County in northwest Arkansas. But just bundle up, stay inside if you can. While we don't have any of the freezing rain, we still have slick roads out there because there's no melt in sight. We're running a span that into next week. We haven't seen anything continuously this cold since 2014.
Too cold for me. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, how the CDC says you should celebrate this Valentine's Day with your loved one. And if you don't have a Valentine this year, Hooters has the right deal for you. Plus, our own Jesse Irwin speaks with comic book artist Andy Parks ahead of Neosho Art Council's Artcon. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, Valentine's Day is this weekend, and according to the National Retail Federation, spending is expected to be down more than $5 billion compared to last year. And a separate survey finds couples are dialing back on gifts in today's Consumer Watch. Closer look at the numbers and some spending tips if you're on a budget this year.
Valentine's Day 2021 isn't canceled, but the pandemic is impacting how people celebrate this year.
A lot of people actually are choosing to dial it back a little bit in order to ramp up their savings after all the financial chaos that 2020 caused.
A Lending Tree survey found nearly 40% of Americans plan to skip celebrating to save money, and 10% of that group has not skipped before. 59% of surveyed women say they wouldn't care, compared to 41% of men. One financial expert says this is a great time to reset expectations and communicate if you plan to scale back.
So if you usually set a budget of $100 to spend on each other on Valentine's Day, and you need to dial it back to $50 or $25, it's okay. Just talk about it.
Most surveyed women who did plan to give gifts said they plan to spend about $94. Meanwhile, most surveyed men said they plan to spend $181.
A lot of people are choosing to go all in order to kind of make up for how crummy 2020 was and how many things they had to miss out on.
Here's a tip to lower your spending. Create instead of buy. Make a special homemade dinner, write a poem, or paint something. And another way to save, give your significant other a break.
It may not be the sexiest gift you'll ever give, but giving your partner a break from doing the yard work or some sort of household chore.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
Well, Hooters is inviting you to shred your ex again this Valentine's Day. You simply destroy a photo of your ex and get 10 free boneless wings when you buy any 10 wings. Participating U.S. locations will have shredders on hand, but you can also do it online. The chain's website will ask you some questions about the relationship, and based on your answers, it recommends the method of destroying the photo. How fun. You upload the photo and then virtually shred, burn, bury, or throw darts at it. Once you're done, you get a digital coupon. The promotion is only good for dining in on Sunday, not to go. Hooters says it wants to break last year's record of destroying 49,000 photos. The Department of Homeland Security is investigating a counterfeit N95 mask operation. Fake 3M masks were sold in at least 5 states to hospitals, medical facilities, and government agencies. 3M is considered the gold standard for N95 masks. The Minnesota company's website has tips on how to spot fakes. Be sure to check that out. McDonald's is bringing back a classic. Orange High C, all right, is returning to restaurants after a 4-year hiatus. Company says it was encouraged by the amount of requests it got on social media for the drink's return. Orange High C, which first debuted in 1955, will start rolling out next week with nationwide availability coming this summer. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back.
Well, kicking off tonight is Artcon, courtesy of Neosho Arts Council, and it's all virtual. And so naturally, we're being joined virtually by one of the panelists this year, Andy Parks. Andy, I am so excited to be able to speak with you for many reasons, one of which being you are from the state of Kansas. You grew up outside of Kansas City. What is it like to be based in the middle of the country and be able to have such a successful career in something that has traditionally needed to be an in-person experience? You've needed to be on the coast for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was lucky. The generation before me, those guys, and I say guys because unfortunately comics have usually been dominated by a male talent pool. That's expanding now happily. But those guys tend to need to be in Connecticut or somewhere they could drop the pages in New York. In my day, it was helpful if you could go to New York and maybe get your face in the editor's office. But the work was all starting to be shipped via FedEx, so it didn't matter so much where you were. Now, it's hardly ever even FedEx. It's digital files zipping around the country. And that worked out well for me. I have a career wife, so I was able to be fluid, follow her to wherever her job might take her. It did land us back here in Kansas, where we're both from.
Have you seen a big shift in your industry, not just in terms of, the appreciation of it almost? I mean, people have always loved comics and it's always had its core base of fans, but I feel like over the last maybe 2 decades, and maybe it started with the Spider-Man or Iron Man movies, but have you seen a rise in sort of, or a resurgence in the excitement around it and the pop culture around it?
Yeah, we've had an opportunity in comics, I think, to introduce people to the medium who didn't come to it as children. It's in America, it's tended to be kind of a entertainment that's geared towards young readers. Now, because of the success of the films and TV shows, we have people who were not aware of these stories, and maybe now they're finding a way to seek out in a bookstore and a comic book store. They're like, well, I dug the Captain America movie. I think I'd like to read some about him. So, and it's good. I think comics have done a pretty good job in capitalizing on that opportunity to introduce readers to these characters in a basic way that lets them build their own understanding as they experience the stories.
I'd be amiss if I didn't mention some of the different characters that you've covered, and I'm sure I'm going to leave some out. But I mean, from Ant-Man to Nightwing to Green Arrow, you recently had your work Kdot adapted into Extraction, which, am I wrong by saying that, isn't it Netflix's most streamed movie of all time?
That's what they said. They said it was the most viewed thing they'd ever had. So there was an upside and a downside. Obviously, nobody wanted the pandemic to happen, and the pandemic happening limited my ability to go out and promote the movie and so on. But it aired on Netflix at a time when everybody was at home watching Netflix. So yeah, we gained a lot of eyeballs, and not just in America. I mean, around the world, it was a big sensation.
It's amazing, and I know you worked with the Russo brothers on that, who are also sort of staples of the industry. It's really neat, and I want to continue my conversation with you about this, but I know that that's what this panel tonight is for. So we just really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. Really quickly before you go, do you have any advice for kids who are comic book lovers, or they might not even be kids, maybe it's adults who have dreamed about working in the industry, whether it's writing or illustrating or publishing? What's the best way to get into this industry, especially in the world we live in today?
I have some universal wisdom that I try to impart to people when they come out to me at shows and they say, I want to make comics. I always ask them, so where is it? Show me something. And often they don't have anything except some doodles in a sketchbook. And I say, look, next time I see you, if I come back to this town next year, bring me some comics. And you know what? It's not even as hard as going out to Kinko's and printing your own comics anymore. You can put them on a blog. You can share them through social media. Just start making comics. There's only one good way to get better at something, and that's doing it. And there's nothing, comics are a beautiful medium. Your imagination and ability to put marks on a piece of paper or on a digital tablet are the only limitations. So really just start building that skill set by doing and doing and doing.
Andy, we really, really appreciate it. I know you're a blogger as well, so we'll have the link to Andy's work on our website at koamnewsnow.com. Andy, thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure.
All right, we'll be right back here on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Health Watch this morning. New data from the CDC shows double masking significantly helps prevent the spread of coronavirus. And their ensemble forecast is now making the grim projection that more than 71,000 people could die from COVID-19 in the United States between now and March 6th. Meredith Wood has the latest.
The CDC is officially endorsing doubling up your face masks. After months of calls for updated mask guidance, a study shows double masking is more than 92% effective in improving protection against the spread of COVID-19.
This includes wearing a mask with a moldable nose wire, knotting the ear loops on your mask, or wearing a cloth mask over a procedure or disposable mask.
The CDC is also updating recommendations on types of masks you should wear and how they should fit.
There are also new options available to consumers called mask fitters, small reusable devices that cinch a cloth or medical mask and that can create a tighter fit against the face and thus improve mask performance.
This as vaccination ramps up across America, with more than 44 million doses having been administered, and more vaccination sites popping up across the nation, like the mass vaccination site at Citi Field in New York City.
Vaccination is the key to our recovery. So we start here at Citi Field
but we're going to build up. Starts as a few days a week, then it's going to 7 days a week to 24/7. By next week, we'll be able to do 4,000 doses a week at this site.
I'm Meredith Wood reporting.
CDC is changing its quarantine recommendations for Americans who have been fully vaccinated against COVID. The agency now says they do not have to quarantine if they are exposed to someone who is infected. The caveat is that applies only to the people who received 2 doses of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, but only once 2 weeks has passed since the final dose. The CDC also warns immunity can wear off, and 3 months post-vaccination, people should monitor for symptoms and possibly quarantine. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, but the risk of spreading the coronavirus remains high, and that's why the CDC is issuing special recommendations for safely observing the holiday during the pandemic. The agency's suggestions start with a recommendation that if you celebrate in person, only gather with those you live with. The official guidance released Monday also advises Americans to drop off Valentine cards or decorations. And if you're going to celebrate with someone who doesn't live with you, the safest activities are those that occur outside, like taking a walk. That's a look for some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Mine via Zoom. How about that? Valentine's Day via Zoom. Day planner. Dangerously cold temperatures, cloudy, no freezing precip. That's the best part about it. We are going to have wind chills that are only going to be in the single digits, though, for this afternoon. We're going to be hard-pressed to even get to feeling like 10 degrees. Now, even though we get a break for today and tomorrow, light flurries is all we'll see today. Oh, look at all that down in Arkansas. That's a mess down there. It's headed toward Memphis. Friday, I think we even get a little peek of sunshine, but now Saturday, we begin to skirt the corners of the 4 states with some additional snow and freezing rain down to the southeast. And I'm really looking at Sunday night into Saturday morning. This thing looks like it's going to dig through Oklahoma and Texas and drop a fair amount of snow on us with overnight lows in the negatives. We'll be back right after this.
How local road crews are working to keep drivers safe, plus why Missouri teachers may not get a vaccine until the end of the school year. And it's day 3 of the impeachment of former President Trump. We'll show you the never-before-seen video presented at the trial yesterday.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, an increased effort to make sure all communities have access to the vaccine. And for our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what do you think of the CDC's double masking recommendation? But first, a check on your forecast.
Mostly cloudy, bitterly cold. We have been able to lift our winter weather advisories for the majority of our counties, still hanging on to one in Benton County, Arkansas, until about 8 a.m. Let's talk temperatures. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, 15 degrees is where we stand right now. Nobody even close to 32. We haven't even got to 20 in any of our communities as of late. Let's factor in the northeast breeze right now. Wind chills as low as -3 in Iola, running -1 in Nevada and Stockton, and Lamar sits with the goose egg. The cold front, just worked its way into the deep south there. Now, it has forced all the freezing precipitation down to our southeast. If you got to run down to Arkansas today, the best thing to do, take everybody's recommendation, stay off the roads, period. That's going to be your best bet. Try to stay inside just because not worth trying to brave the cold out here. For future track, Thursday and Friday on the clean side, flurries the only thing we'll see today. And then Saturday, early morning, we begin to skirt around with some snow in our corner counties. Then for Sunday night into Monday, got a good one coming. Going to bring us additional snowfall and also plummet our overnight lows into the negative numbers. So we'll be looking at wind chills double-digit below 0.
Ooh, I don't even want to think about the wind chills. Just the actual temperatures are scary enough.
So if you do have to get out and about, which everybody's advising against, just go to KOAMNewsNow.com for your road conditions, and also to update those closings there that you see on the bottom of your screen. We have a complete list of those on our website as well.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Michael. Well, road crews across the 4 states are working nonstop. Kdot has hit the state highways in southeast Kansas since Sunday, and they've been running 27 trucks continuously and have used several hundred tons of salt. Superintendent Wing Nelson says they're not at risk of running out.
We've got a couple different sources of contracts. We go out and we pick up salt, and when we need it, we order it and we get it, and we have not had problems getting it this year so far. I've ordered it, needed it, and we've gotten it.
Nelson says they may not have crews out overnight last night, but they'll be out again if the roads get bad again. MoDOT covers only a few roads in the city of Joplin. The city is responsible for the rest. The city tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call, and the city is able to get a truck through easily. They also say they have enough road treatment on hand to get through this bout of bad weather. It's not just state road crews treating the area. Area homeowners are buying up ice melt as fast as stores are stocking it. Hinkle's Ace Hardware in Webb City says they keep making trips to their warehouse in Neosho because they sell out within an hour of it arriving.
Just make sure you have plenty of kerosene and propane and batteries, and just in case if we get some ice, power lines could be in jeopardy, and that's the big concern is, protecting people that way.
For the latest weather updates, as well as school closings and road conditions, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Cold weather conditions in Miami raise concerns for pets, specifically one dog named Boomer. He gained popularity on Facebook, where disturbed Miami residents posted their worry for the dog's well-being. Miami Police Chief Thomas Anderson explains why residents shouldn't worry.
And they worked with the Miami Animal Alliance, and they donated a new doghouse to the animal. They've got hay down. It has adequate shelter. They've been monitoring the food. The storage bin for the food's always full.
Anderson says animal control is keeping close tabs on Boomer. Good to hear. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely won't get their second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they are encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as masks and social distancing. House impeachment managers introduced chilling new video on the first day of former President Trump's impeachment trial. Democrats say the former president incited the insurrection and did not take action to stop the rioters as they stormed through the Capitol building. CBS's Deborah Alfarone is there with the latest.
House impeachment managers unveiled never-before-seen security footage of the Capitol riot in the trial of former President Trump.
On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
In one video, Vice President Mike Pence is seen being rushed to safety as the crowd outside chanted for his death. This cell phone video taken by a rioter shows them looking for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, Nancy!
Her staff barricaded themselves in a conference room not long before rioters tried and failed to get in.
And so they came, draped in Trump's flag, and used our flag, the American flag, to batter and to bludgeon.
The Democratic prosecutors say Mr. Trump was not an innocent bystander.
And if you don't fight like hell,
and that he did nothing to stop the attack, which happened as lawmakers were certifying the 2020 election.
They believed that they were doing this for him.
House impeachment managers will finish their argument today. Then on Friday, Mr. Trump's lawyers have 2 days to make their case.
The evidence that has been presented thus far is pretty damning.
Some Republicans, like Alaska's Lisa Murkowski, say it's tough to see everything laid out.
We lived it once, and that was awful.
One Capitol police officer died and more than 100 were injured that day. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Some Republican senators who have long been staunch allies of Trump say the rioters should be held responsible for their own actions, not the former president. It's unclear if there will be the necessary 16 GOP votes to convict the former president. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, new CDC guidelines.
The CDC has new guidance on wearing masks. I'm Deborah Alfarone in Washington with what you need to know, plus a new effort to make vaccines equally accessible to underserved communities.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what do you think of the CDC's double masking recommendation? We let you weigh in, but first it's 6:37.
Watch your pets, check on your neighbors, drip your faucets, because it's going to be a cold one, not only today, but all the way through the weekend. Light snow flurries for Thursday, dry on Friday, snow Saturday on the corners of the 4 states, and then a larger system widespread from Sunday night into Monday morning. Be back with Nationwatch next.
Topping Nationwatch this morning, Larry Flint, who built a business empire with Hustler magazine, has died at his Los Angeles home. Flint, who was paralyzed by a sniper in 1978, became an advocate for First Amendment rights. He was depicted in the 1996 film The People vs. Larry Flint. Larry Flint was 78. The Dallas Mavericks have stopped playing the national anthem at home games, reportedly at the request of owner Mark Cuban. The basketball team says it hasn't played the anthem for 11 games at American Airlines Center this season. Cuban says he hopes those who feel passionate about the anthem will be just as passionate listening to those who feel it does not represent them. The Chinese Lunar New Year is just a few days away. In New York City, the Empire State Building's tower was lit red Wednesday ahead of the occasion. The New Year is Friday. In Chinese culture, the color red is a symbol for good luck. We need it. As the nation struggles to play catch up with vaccinations, there's an increased effort to make sure underserved communities have equal access to the shots. We're also now getting new guidance from the CDC on face masks. Deborah Alfarone has more from Washington, D.C.
The Biden administration yesterday formally announced the formation of the COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force, a group meant to make sure all communities have the same access to testing, vaccines, and health care.
This includes thinking about the equitable allocation of COVID-19 resources and relief funds, effective outreach and communication to underserved and minoritized populations.
Citi Field, where the New York Mets play, is the latest sports stadium turned mass vaccination site. It's also the latest location to find doses fell well short of demand.
We expect to get some more coming in, but the bottom line is we need to see equity.
The CDC, meantime, has new guidance on the prevention efforts we all have access to. Masks. A new lab study indicates doubling up adds protection for both you and others.
They showed that if you wear 2 masks, and they're well fitted, that's the key thing, that you can have more than 95% protection from the aerosols that you otherwise might get.
That lab study shows one mask protects the wearer from around 40% of particles coming in, compared to a cloth mask over a surgical mask that blocks 80%. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Well, today the government is expected to ship vaccines to 6,500 pharmacies across the nation with a special focus on those in underserved communities. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About, double masking.
That's right, on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll asking if you plan on double masking. We'll kick our comments off. And before we get to our Insta poll, we'll kick our comments off with John Trebian. John says, no, I'm not wearing 2 masks. Let's just get the vaccine out. China needs to pay. Good morning, KOM. Good morning, America. Good morning, John. Colleen McGuire says, good Lord, most people won't even wear 1 mask. Kim Jones says they're clueless, making things up as they go. No thanks, not happening. Trace Silvola says, I don't even wear 1. 2 is a definite no-go. I thought it was 15 days to slow the spread, but after a year of that nonsense, here we are being told to double mask it. Trey says tyrants will always tyrannize. Joe Johnson with the Goebbels Inc. is doing their part. Travis Henry, there's a bunch of idiots around here that don't even wear 1. And Mel McKinney says you could never get a Trump supporter to wear 1, let alone 2. They're still waiting for the past President Obama to come and get their guns. As far as the KOM News Now Insta poll this morning, it's been pretty consistent, all the way in the 80 percentile. Each and every time we've checked on it right now, it sits at 80%. Remember, you can make your voice heard. Just go to komnewsnow.com/vote. We'll come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Corporal Earle Stanley, who was a member of the United States Army. He served from 1951 to 1952 in Korea. That's where he earned a Bronze Star, his hometown, Neodesha, Kansas. We are proud to salute Earle Stanley, our four-state hero.
Mapleton, Kansas, good-looking hat there worn by one Lane Northcutt as he celebrates his 6th birthday. Happy birthday, Lane, from Mom, Dad, and Gunner.
All right, we've got Alethea Campbell Kemper, pretty name there, turning 9 years old in Oronogo. As I understand, Alethea is a fan of math and slime. And Alethea has a palindromic birthday. That's when you're born on the exact date
2112.
in which the birthday is a palindrome. Yeah, the beginning 3 numbers are the same as the end ones. Like Michael said, 21112. Pretty cool. Happy birthday, Alethea.
Henry Rector, he's celebrating his 11th birthday. Henry, wants you to have a marvelous day. He's in Commerce.
Mitchell House turning 17 years old this year. Happy birthday, Mitchell, in Oswego.
And check this out. We got a Boogney birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Sean. I don't know how you corrupted those kids like that. Got them in those Browns uniforms. My goodness. Great family right there. Love the Boogneys. Have a great one, buddy.
That's a good picture there. And let's see, Shonda Ross, happy birthday to you in Scammon. Vonette Gateway celebrating in Pittsburgh, and David Robinson is turning 58 years old in Neosho.
Oh, not that David Robinson. I still want to nickname that David Robinson the Admiral. I'm going to do it. There you go.
All right, happy birthday, Admiral.
In Chetopa, Johnny and Janet Zwallen. They are celebrating an anniversary. Congratulations to the Zwallens and happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
You check out this record low right here from 1981, and believe it or not, by the time we get to the 7-day forecast, we are going to see numbers that low for the beginning of next week. Getting there is going to be a challenge just to stay warm. On the positive, don't have to worry about any of the freezing precipitation that we've had past couple of days, especially along and south of I-44, because that's going to stay down in north central Arkansas. That being said, roads from earlier this week still causing travel concerns. Best thing to do is stay off the roads if you can. Number of schools already canceled. That's the list running at the bottom of your screen. And remember, you can not only find that complete list of closings, but also updated road conditions for each of our 4 states by going to komnewsnow.com. Very top of your screen. You're not going to be able to miss it. We do have Benton County and northwest Arkansas hanging on to a winter weather advisory here for the next hour and 10 minutes. And it stretches all the way now from West Texas to the East Coast. Nationally speaking, it has forced all the freezing rain down into the southern portion of the United States. Let's talk temperatures now. Freeman Health System Sky Camera, 15 degrees, 16 in Carthage and Monette. Let's go 15 in Chanute, 18 in Miami. But as far as what it feels like outside, we're throwing up negative numbers up there. Along the north, only feels like 3 in Neosho. And let's go 1 degree in Independence. This is that line I was talking about that has been pushed down through Arkansas and then through the Tennessee River Valley. And I can tell that's where we saw those winter weather warnings and advisories along that stretch right there. But still dangerously cold to the point where, hey, bring in the pets, check on your neighbors, drip those faucets as well, because there's really no end in sight for this anytime soon. Overnight, north wind's going to pick up, gusts at 20 to 25 miles per hour. So we're going to see a lot more negative numbers here for wind chills by the time we get to Friday morning. There it is, rolling through central Arkansas. Now, light flurries today. That's all it's going to amount to. Friday, we actually get a break. You finally see a little sunshine on Friday. That'll be nice. But now on Saturday, we begin to skirt the corners. A little bit of freezing rain down there as well. And look at this thing for Sunday into Monday. This thing digs into the plains, and it's pretty expansive as far as how much area it covers. Sunday morning is when it begins lightly, but then as we move into Sunday night, Monday morning, then we really begin to pick up some action right there. Probably have a good idea about snowfall amounts after this thing gets over the Rockies. Give us an idea how well organized it's going to be. We talked about those record lows right there. Look at what we got overnights for next week, anywhere from -3 to -9. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. House managers in former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial played a series of chilling and violent videos from the Capitol riot, some not previously seen. Using the former president's past tweets and words, they said he was the insider-in-chief. They argued he fanned the flames well before the January 6th riot in efforts to overturn the election. Winter weather presents continued challenges for road crews across the 4 states. Kdot has had road crews out almost nonstop since Sunday, clearing state highways across southeast Kansas. They've had 27 trucks out, putting out hundreds of tons of salt and chemicals to melt the ice. So far, they've had no trouble restocking on salt and planned on watching conditions closely overnight. Now, MoDOT covers only a few roads in the city of Joplin. The city is responsible for the rest. The city tells us their focus is on main roads. Residential streets are treated only if people call, and the city is able to get a truck through easily. They also say they have enough road treatment on hand to get through this bout of bad weather. Missouri teachers might not be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 until the end of the school year. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services says teachers will get the first dose of the vaccine in April, meaning they likely won't get their second dose until early summer. Meanwhile, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told lawmakers yesterday they're encouraging schools to return to in-person learning. They hosted webinars sharing research that shows transmission of the virus in schools is low, with preventative measures such as masks and social distancing. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Light flurries throughout today. You don't have to worry about any freezing rain or drizzle. Thank you, Caden. Temperatures pushing up into the low 20s. That's as good as we're going to see. Not even close to beginning to melt. Single-digit wind chills pretty much all day long. 7-day forecast to break from the rain and snow on Friday. Then we kick back in. Skirts us on Saturday. Got a good widespread one coming Sunday night into Monday morning.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making chocolate mousse cups in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues, and that's where we find Jesse.
Yeah, we're going to be previewing Neosho Artcon, talking to Andy Parks, who is a Kansas-based comic book artist. He actually wrote the script for the most watched film in Netflix history. So we'll have that interview for you over on Fox 14. Plus, we're talking ski towns, and we're talking about Elon Musk breaking through in another industry. So we'll have that for you over on Channel 14.
All right, that wraps it up for this Thursday edition. Make sure if you do have to be out and about today, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Check on those road conditions before you depart, and make sure you stay warm. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.